Palermo versus West Ham, September 2006, UEFA Cup first round match. Palermo is a city in Sicily, and from their early days have always had fan groups like the Curva Nord and Ultras Palermo, who chant, fly flags, and generally try to intimidate the away team. But they also have their own ultras, who are more than happy to take their fight to any opposition. These are called Warriors Ultras and Brigate Rosanero. In September 2006, West Ham's famous ICF arrive in town for a UEFA Cup first-round tie. What could possibly go wrong? We start with West Ham ICF member Colin, who told us, it was 2006, and West Ham drew Palermo in a European competition, and the intercity firm, many of whom were now family men in their 40s and 50s, flew out for a reunion. The Italian ultras, great students and admirers of English football hooliganism, were looking forward to testing the mettle of the famous ICF. People have asked me if it was the worst trouble I have ever seen. Well, it all depends whether you went out there for the battle or not. Those that did have since said it was like Christmas. Ordinary fans were terrified. It really was the mother of all battles out in Palermo. That day I saw past names backing off, and new lads coming through in what was described as the worst violence ever been involved in by some of the top-tier lads in the firm. Definitely wasn't for the faint-hearted. We hired a plane, and 189 of us took the journey. Out of that 189, 159 were arrested, and 22 ended up in court. The night before, there was continuous street fighting in the 24 hours leading up to the match. In the midst of it, Cass Pennant arranged an interview with one of Palermo's leading ultras for a book he is compiling about international hooligans. A car met him beside the Teatro Massimo, and he was driven to a secret destination, which turned out to be a bar in an old part of town. Some ultras were in hospital, and Cass was unsure of how he'd be received. Their top ultra had a couple of henchmen with him. Ugly-looking customers, said Cass. But do you know what their first question was? How much ICF memorabilia, hats, t-shirts and so on, could he let them have? They were really impressed with us. We got into central Palermo early and was on the bevy by about 10:30 a.m. their time, large bottles of DAB all day long. Lovely it was. Drinking was no problem. We soon found out from some of the lads about the trouble the night before. Italian shithouses, about 400 strong, attacked about 40 West Ham, who were holed up in a bar in one of the squares at around 11 p.m. on Wednesday. These were not just ultras, but local residents, and some police were joining in as well. They were chucking bricks, bottles, the works. They were even chucking concrete down from above in some of the tenements, while the police just stood by and let this go on for about an hour and a half before they steamed in and nicked the West Ham lads. Apparently the West Ham had to scrap for all of that time, running them and then backing off. Most of the ones we met were all bruised up and all gave a consistent story, and basically they took a battering. Palermo is a proper slum. I can't go into some of the things that happened that afternoon on this video, mate. It just wouldn't be fair to others. But you can imagine what was going on. The police were happy for groups of 15-20 of them to pick off naive supporters in 2s and 3s. Late afternoon, we had 1,500 in the center, and it really went mad around 5 p.m. We then walked mobbed up through the center of Palermo to the ground, which is in a proper slum, almost like a township. Really weird place. We heard quite a few stories later of people who'd stupidly been turning up at the ground in 2s and 3s, thinking they were going to the City of Manchester Stadium or something, again in cabs, and were immediately attacked by groups of 12 or so. One fella I met at the airport later almost lost his ear and spent the match in the hospital. He'd been battered by a group of 12 with bricks when he was on the floor. There were older fellas, late 60s, who were battered as well. Basically, the Italians were only prepared to pick off small numbers of supporters, and when West Ham were there in force during the day, they weren't quiet, so brave. Having said that, it is a proper mad place, no control, and the police turn a blind eye for the locals. Funnily enough, I enjoyed the atmosphere in the ground and the game. We played a 4-33 with Carlton Cole Harewood and Tevez in the forward three. Mascherano, Bowyer, Coker in the mid. We were the better side first half, and if it had not been for their keeper pulling out the stops, we could have easily been 2 up after 30 minutes, and I think they wouldn't have responded. They grabbed a goal with their only shot in the first half, and that was that. We got caught on the break second half, and then we were finished. So that was the end of our European adventure. It didn't last long, but was very eventful. After the game, there was serious disorder because now the police were really after us. They just steamed into us, hitting everyone they could with their batons and arresting loads. West Ham fans who were arrested were fined and sent home. Those who couldn't pay were ordered to make a public apology instead. Those refusing to apologize were kept in jail for several weeks. 1 or 2 ex-ICF members privately admitted that Palermo had made them realize that they were getting far too old for that kind of thing. The Palermo Ultras were using the police as their personal bodyguards while handing out beatings to West Ham scarfers. Palermo beat West Ham at football, and in the next round they drew Newcastle. The Ultras couldn't believe their luck. 2 famous English clubs visiting Palermo in successive rounds. So imagine their disappointment when the Geordie boys didn't turn up. About 50 made the journey, and when approached in a bar by the Ultras and challenged to a fight, they answered that they only wanted to be friends. I think this the funniest thing ever. My Christmas card last year was a photograph of West Ham supporters filling the away end at Palermo, next to a photo of a few Newcastle fans not filling theirs. Palermo Ultra Vincenzo told us, "We had waited for years for a night like this. Ever since the draw was made, we knew the English were coming. West Ham, the ICF, legends on terraces, feared across Europe. But this was our home, La Favorita, and they were stepping into our world now." For weeks, the buzz ran through the Curva Nord. Messages passed quietly between groups. Old rivalries were put aside. It wasn't just about Palermo. It was about defending Italy's honor. We hate Catania, but we hate the English even more. The English had written their own myth. Now we would write ours. The night before, their firm moved through our streets, loud, confident, drunk on their own stories. But we were watching, in the shadows, knowing what would come. When we attacked, they fled back into the bars and hotels where they came from. It was chaos. Police were trying to stop us attacking them, but also attacking them and arresting many of their runners. Match day arrived like thunder. Black and pink filled every corner of the city. Our drums echoed from balconies. The scent of smoke and anticipation hung in the air. And then we saw them, a wave of claret and blue swaggering toward the ground. They sang. We waited. When it kicked off, not just the match but the real fight. It was fast, brutal, and unforgiving. Bottles, bricks, fists. But for all their reputation, the English had never faced this kind of unity. We didn't scatter. We surged. They were split, panicked. The ICF, who had ruled English grounds, were now on the run, lost in alleyways, chased back toward their end. The streets around the ground, now a sea of Sicilian ultras chasing Englishmen. It was a wonderful sight to see. Inside the stadium, our tifos flew high and our team crushed theirs on the pitch. Outside, the message was sent loud and clear. This is Palermo, and tonight the legends fell. We thank Colin and Vincenzo for their recollections. It's clear the ICF had quite a nasty time in Palermo. Whether they were as thoroughly battered as Vincenzo states is open to discussion. So what do you guys think? Were you there? If so, comment and let us know your views on the events that took place. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to share, like, comment and subscribe, as it really helps our channel grow. Bye for now.